I'm truly grateful tonight for those readings. In Christian Science, we sometimes call it Christian Science jargon. We can banter words around, and certainly a phrase that's well known amongst us is that we are the child of God. In tonight's readings, and I will say especially in the Mrs. Eddy section, she goes deep into what that means. And it is nothing less than awesome when we realize that we truly are a child of God. Well, it's the most wonderful blessing that ever could be bestowed upon any of us. And again, so often we just read through things, read through science and health, even the Bible, as if we know it, without really saying, no, I don't know it, and I need to know it. I need to know what these words mean, because they are life-changing and revolutionary. The inspiration for this topic came from Louise in Missouri, that was the last testimony I read from her, who has a horse stable. She'd sent me a testimony. It had been in the 2001 Sentinel, and it was about a man who, he'd been having an operation, and he died on the operating table, but then came back and lived to tell about it. And then several years later, he was experiencing heart trouble. And it said, I'm going to read part of it. The experience of having passed on never left my thought, but a few years after I retired from the Navy, I started having problems with my heart. I called a Christian Science practitioner and asked her to pray with me for healing. I saw her every week and we prayed together, and I talked to her every day. But she only gave me one passage to study, and this was what was read tonight. Self-renunciation of all that constitutes a so-called material man, and the acknowledgement and achievement of his spiritual identity as the child of God is science that opens the very floodgates of heaven, whence good flows into every avenue of being, cleansing mortals of all uncleanliness, destroying all suffering, and demonstrating the true image and likeness. There is no other way under heaven whereby we can be saved, and man clothed with might, majesty, and immortality. Mary Baker Eddy, Miscellaneous Writings, page 185. And he goes on to say, I looked up every word in that passage to see if there were related references to study in the Bible or Mrs. Eddy's writings. I wanted to increase my understanding of the whole concept of what she was saying. Every day and all the time, I was reading and memorizing this passage. So I continued to study every word, but for about a year, I continued to get worse. Then one day I was walking across the plaza where I worked and stopped breathing and collapsed into a bench. If people saw me, they must have thought I was resting in the sunlight. But I thought, I'm passing on, and this time I'll see what's behind that door. Then this passage I'd been studying really hit me in a different way. Up until now, I had been thinking about the child of God, even though I had been claiming to be one. All of a sudden, I saw that I was the child of God. I started thinking as though I was the child of God, with the mind of God as my mind. And I saw heart trouble as something that just was not true. I was healed, and I've never been bothered with heart problems since. Someone may say that it took a long time for that healing to come, but God measures time according to the good that is appearing in our lives. So I was not keeping a record of the time. As I focused on the good that was coming into my life, I began to see more of my spirituality. And when the healing came, I saw it was the result of my increasing understanding that my health, which really has its foundation in spirit, had always been perfect. These experiences have helped me tremendously in helping other people because I know there is no death. This is the power of one statement, one powerful statement understood, that I am the child of God and what that means. So please remember this. Don't just read the jargon, talk the jargon, and not really understand it. Take it in. Pour over our textbook, prose works, the Bible. Do as this guy did. Look up definitions. Make it yours, and you will find it has a healing power unspeakable. This is the power of Christian Science. I am so grateful for this. I'm so grateful to be here tonight, to know that we're all alive and kicking, awake and well, and grateful for this wonderful science. Dear Mrs. Eddy, Christ Jesus, and I'm grateful to be with you all tonight.